It wasn't an angry cast member or a bold whistleblower who ignited the web that evening. At precisely 2:14 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, an indistinct, poorly lit 2-minute clip unobtrusively surfaced on an amateur fan-created Reddit discussion thread, floating into the world online like a spark in the dark. To the naked eye at first, the tape appeared to reveal nothing but random backstage commotion, reverberations down a tiled corridor, muffled mutterings, paper rustling, and spotty footfalls. But fans are sensitive, and they understood the voices immediately. It was as if the universe had shifted in that one moment. Robyn Brown's voice was heard in a breathless, hushed whisper, every word slicing. She's thinking something over. Meri's been speaking with outsiders who are urging her to go public. If she goes out with the truth, you won't know. Kody's finished. We're done. Then Kody's voice came out tired and angry. She doesn't have the courage. She's threatened this for years. We'll bury her in edits if she's crazy enough to open her mouth. Her face is ours. TLC won't stand behind her. Suddenly, a smoother, more businesslike voice, perhaps a producer, cut in. Kody, we don't own people anymore. That's done. We're not covering for people anymore. You're already skating on thin ice. And with that, the internet blew up. Die-hard fans had long surmised Robyn's hidden control of Meri's decisions and her position in the family. But this was not favoritism or tension alone. This was outright manipulation, a concerted attempt to silence her. The video, though, was only the tinder. What came next was a firestorm. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away from Flagstaff, in the peaceful snow-covered town of Parowan, Utah, Meri Brown sat cross-legged on the sitting room floor of Lizzie's Heritage Inn. Her phone rang constantly on the armrest next to her, while she cradled a steaming cup of tea in her hands. The video was already viral. Producers, ex-co-stars, journalists, podcasters, even ex-therapists clogged her inbox, all clamoring for a comment or confession. But Meri wasn't taken aback. She had been getting herself ready for this moment for months. Each evening, after the world grew dark and the cameras fell silent, she made private video diaries, unpolished, unedited, and intensely personal. Her face, her voice, her suffering. In a recording taken 3 weeks prior to the leak, she glared into the camera with tear-filled eyes and whispered, "They believe that I won't leave, that I'm too afraid, that I'll keep quiet to save the show, the brand, or Kody's ego. But I'm done. You can't leave Robyn without being labeled unstable. She's a pro at this, but I'm still leaving, and I will tell the truth." In the background, speculations of sabotage had long been going on. Some camera operators and producers admitted in private that whenever Meri discussed her independence, the story would instantly change. Scripts were altered, subjects were suddenly dropped. When she spoke about therapy, recovery, or her life outside the family, she was immediately labeled as cold or distant. Then came the paper trail, a secret memo by TLC's public relations staff, leaked by a shadowy insider, came out and told the truth. Robyn Brown has been contacting producers of podcasts, mental health professionals, and sponsors Meri has been talking to. The network didn't authorize these contacts. It is recommended that Robyn's outside communications privileges be reviewed on an immediate basis. This was not merely concern, this was active interference. At last came the most surprising item of all, a computer image of a cease and desist letter, purportedly signed by Robyn Brown, to a new podcast that had invited Meri for an exclusive interview. The letter instructed them to cease any material that had Meri presented in a manner that could hurt Robyn or Kody's reputation. But by the time the letter leaked out, it was too late. Fans were wondering, why hadn't Kody been on the show in nearly a month? The reason lay in the footage. In another clip, Kody's voice is heard, rising and cracking with exasperation. "She has no gratitude. She wants to destroy everything I gave her." Was it all an act? A victim syndrome? The situation blew so out of proportion that producers intervened and called security. In an unprecedented action, Kody Brown was officially suspended from Sister Wives filming, the first suspension ever in the history of the show. While TLC did not issue a public statement, internal HR reports, subsequently leaked to the press, indicated the reason. Since he had engaged in an altercation with crew members and refused to comply with producer commands, Kody would be temporarily suspended from production for 18 days. Robyn was devastated. The sudden absence of Kody exposed the fissures in her assiduously kept grip on reality. Not because he violated a boundary, but because she had always been able to count on his omnipresence to maintain her story. With Kody around, she could always depend on him to deflect the story back on course or cover for her with his intervention whenever she needed to be a victim. But now that he was away, it all began to fall apart. Producers started excavating hours of unseen footage, arguments, clever manipulations, passive-aggressive tirades, whole episodes that had been shelved. Robyn's subtle control of the narrative was finally coming out. Christine was the first to respond. When asked on an Instagram Q&A if she believed Meri had been mistreated off camera, Christine hesitated not. I feel like Meri's storyline was manipulated to paint her as the problem, but I also know there were some underlying issues. Janelle was even more direct when asked about the leaked video during a podcast interview. For years, we stayed silent to protect people who didn't deserve it. I support Meri completely if she chooses to share her story now. She deserves that. Christine's daughter, Mykelti Padron, added fuel to the fire with a cryptic social media post. "Y'all aren't ready for what's coming. Trust me." And then an unsettling photo surfaced online. A stark black and white Instagram story with no caption. It was just Meri's hand holding the original lease to her Las Vegas home. A worn sticky note stuck to it, clearly in Robyn's handwriting. "Don't talk about this to anyone yet, please. Let's keep this in-house." No explanation was necessary. Under the guise of family loyalty, Robyn had coerced Meri into secrecy at a turning point in her life, all while secretly arranging her own future with Kody behind their backs. Globally, the hashtag #LetMeriSpeak went viral. Behind the scenes, TLC executives were in a panic and called crisis meetings. Within days, a leaked internal memo declared, "Protecting false stories is not our responsibility. We need to assess whether cast members are being intimidated or manipulated outside of production control. Transparency will be our new editorial standard." Briefly, the network was on the brink of turning against Robyn. Producers pleaded with Meri to tell her tale on camera. She wouldn't. Instead, she was spotted en route to Los Angeles with a previous Sister Wives producer who had infamously resigned in 2021 following fiery arguments with Robyn and Kody over unethical story edit wars. They weren't scheduled to meet with TLC. A meeting was arranged with a literary agent. Meanwhile, Kody was seen anxiously pacing outside a courthouse in Flagstaff. Rumpled and alone, he held a handful of papers supposedly connected to contractual non-disclosure agreements. Sources said he was getting his ducks in a row for legal action to stop Meri from releasing her video diaries. Legal experts were not so sure, however. As long as there was no duly signed NDA post-divorce, Kody may not have a watertight case. Robyn, on the other hand, disappeared from sight. No updates, no responses. Her Cameo page went quietly dark. Behind the scenes, she was said to have told friends that she had felt betrayed by the program and thought the producers were manipulating the story against her. But a seasoned producer bluntly told a tabloid, "We didn't manipulate anything. We just stopped covering up for her." The formerly smiling family, famous for their coordinating t-shirts and photo shoots, was now dispersed, some in silence, some in anger. By the time July rolled around, viewers no longer tuned in for entertainment. They watched because quiet was no longer an option. And Meri, she was just beginning. At midnight, the first video was posted. No words, no teaser, no fancy graphics, just brutal honesty. Uploaded to a small YouTube channel named Truth from Lizzie's Porch, it had only a single video named The Uncensored Journal of Meri Before They Rewrite Me. The screen faded in to a lone, haunting photo of Meri. She was sitting on the rusty wooden swing hanging in front of Lizzie's Heritage Inn, all bundled up in a thick gray sweater. Her voice was gruff, possibly from the cold, or possibly from bearing the burden of so many years of not saying anything. Snow softly fell behind her as she started to speak. I gave it all to them. When I wanted to yell, I remained silent. When I was gaslit, I remained faithful. When they presented me with edited betrayals, I took them. But now, this is my voice. Only I can mold it now. That initial video submission was just shy of 9 minutes. She never named names, not yet, but every sentence sliced like a silent knife. She talked about a man who leveraged her heartbreak, about sisters who distorted care into control, and about seeing her pain taken and twisted into suspicion. By the next morning, she had 3.2 million views for her video. Robyn Brown was still nowhere to be found, however. Panic ensued at TLC headquarters. There were no legal reasons to stop Meri's release. She had produced her footage independently, kept her post-divorce non-compete, and disobeyed no contracts. The lawyers couldn't halt her. The PR couldn't derail her. Producers couldn't edit her out. What began as Kody's personal collapse soon became the headliner. Meri posted 2 additional entries that week. In them, she chronicled the notorious Las Vegas move at length, the urgency to sell her house hastily, to move without questioning, and to remain silent when certain wives were inexplicably held up while she was ushered out. We appear more cohesive on screen the quicker we get there, Robyn had explained. Off-screen, though, Meri was the sole person to pack. She alone rented her moving truck. Kody wasn't even aware of the day she departed. That morning, he and Robyn were occupied with filming. Her tone grew colder as she explained the subtle pressure producers exerted to cut scenes that didn't fit the unity theme. She told of one instance when Robyn's off-camera words had her in tears during a confessional. Not over Kody, but over Robyn. That footage never made it on the air. Producers said it would confuse the audience. Meri looked directly into the camera and asked, "Confuse them how?" By revealing the truth? Equipped with leaked scripts, timestamps, and Meri's new disclosures, the fans started digging up older seasons. Online communities blew up with posts with titles such as "Clips They Cut to Protect Robyn," "Kody's Gaslighting Timeline," and "Was Meri Right About Vegas All Along?" Even the mainstream media leapt in. Entertainment Tonight broadcast a segment entitled "The Wife They Tried to Erase." On The View, there was a 6-minute monologue from a guest applauding Meri's bravery at defying patriarchal polygamist PR spin. At the same time, Kody had had enough. On July 10th, he brought a complaint before Coconino County Court, calling for an injunction to prevent Meri from posting videos. He charged her with violating privacy contracts and intentionally ruining the Brown family brand. In his 57-page complaint, he requested $230,000 in damages and a gag order from the court. Meri's reply was quick, not via lawyers, but via another video. She opened it with an empty laugh. "It's a brand now, isn't it? I thought it was a family." She then displayed a signed copy of a family NDA, which she said Robyn had written herself in 2020, following an intense row over money. Christine would not sign it, so it was never enforced. "You're embarrassed by my story now? You don't get to control it. You let them label me as broken, inactive, cold. You let Robyn paint my quiet as unstable. I'm not erratic. I'm free." Thousands of supportive messages poured in from fans, some of whom were themselves survivors of emotional abuse and manipulation and felt deeply connected to what Meri had said. She was no longer a reality TV personality. She was becoming iconic. And Kody's lawsuit, it quickly became a public joke. Legal experts described it as weak, performative, and likely to collapse. And they were right. Just 10 days later, the court rejected his injunction. The same day, Robyn's estranged half-sister Belle posted a 45-minute video expose on TikTok called Want to See the Real Robyn? Take a seat. In it, Belle outlined Robyn's lifelong behavior of being controlling and manipulative, employing guilt, tears, and religious fear to manipulate others. Years she built this persona, Belle explained. Kody needed someone who would cry while turning a knife, and Robyn did just that to perfection. Belle also disclosed that Robyn had been calling family members, calling on them to call Meri and plead with her to desist from telling her story. But Meri was not indebted to Robyn. No more secrets, and neither was anyone else. Everything changed forever within the space of one day. The clip went viral, posting 10 million views. Robyn caved to pressure, releasing a quick, clumsy apology through her publicist. The exploitation of private family business for public spectacle breaks my heart. I still care deeply about every wife, and I never silenced Meri or anyone else. It only made things worse. At the same time, TLC secretly made over the season preview promo. Initially focused on Robyn and Kody's new beginning, the cameras then turned to Meri, Christine, and Janelle. The tone also shifted, from bouncy to ominous. In the updated teaser, Meri had been seen walking around her vacant rental house in Flagstaff. Christine had a confrontation with producers in her kitchen. Janelle, trembling as she spoke, said, "For too long, none of us spoke. And that silence hurt us." In a single scene, never released, Robyn was overheard off stage during an impromptu production meeting. Her voice strained and urgent through thin wall. "You don't get it. If Meri tells the truth, the whole story falls apart. TLC becomes complicit." Fans were in shock. TLC wasn't merely letting Meri talk. They were giving her the spotlight. And Kody watched everything fall apart. His story, his family, his control, destroyed. Alone in a locked room in Flagstaff, he lost the story that he believed he had. When the tell-all episodes of Sister Wives Season 19 were finally released, Kody and Robyn's guest appearances were a letdown. They evaded Suki Krishnan's challenging questions without ever being held to account. As accusations of favoritism mounted, Kody's ex-wives, Meri, Christine, and Janelle, became even more estranged. Fans were analyzing Kody and Robyn's relationship more than ever before. Left to deal with the consequences on his own, Kody's feelings careened wildly between remorse and rebellion. Within a few years, he experienced several divorces, public ridicule, and an increasing estrangement from his older children. The tell-all specials were intended to provide a moment of candor, an opportunity for the family to reconcile. But instead, Kody and Robyn closed off, inviting even harsher condemnation. Suki pushed Robyn about why she wouldn't watch past shows during the tell-all tapings. Toward the latter half of Part 1, the attention was on Janelle's tense marriage with Kody and her difficulties communicating candidly about Robyn without alienating him. Robyn said she didn't watch because the clips were disturbing. But when the clips aired, it was impossible to miss the soft, pleased smile on her face. When Suki confronted Robyn about asking straight out if she believed that Kody was a failure for failing to maintain his marriages, Robyn sidestepped, claiming they were all responsible, not only Kody. She maintained that the hurtful things said by Kody, Janelle, Christine, and Meri were all equally responsible. Robyn referred to the tape as destructive, explaining she didn't want to relive it. Although Kody asserted that he was open and ready to communicate, his behavior showed otherwise. When his wives started to leave him, he appeared shocked, not ready to accept any blame. That refusal to accept accountability was a chief factor in Janelle, Christine, and Meri leaving. Robyn received constant special treatment, something Kody always denied. In one tell-all clip, Janelle and Kody discussed their broken relationship. When Kody asked if there was any chance they might reconcile, Janelle replied bluntly, "We don't even live in the same universe anymore. You want a wife who acts differently than I ever will?" It was a candid, brutally honest moment that encapsulated all that was wrong with their marriage. Kody grew angry when Janelle attempted to talk about Robyn's impact, snapping, "Don't go down that road." Janelle's last sentence pierced, "If I can't speak freely, then there's nothing left to say." The video went on as Janelle opened up in the rare, vulnerable moment. She acknowledged that this was always the pattern whenever Robyn's name came up. Robyn was Kody's sacred cow, off limits, immune to criticism. Janelle disclosed that this blind devotion to Robyn was the fundamental cause his other marriages failed. Kody's failure to recognize Robyn's defects, or even entertain the possibility, created cracks of great depth in his other relationships. He would defend Robyn no matter what, even if it cost him his relationships with his other wives. Kody was never able to fully admit the hurt this inflicted. Ultimately, departure was the only thing that provided closure to the women he had once promised to love. When Kody refused to talk at the tell-all specials, his silence spoke more volumes than words ever could. For a man who had spent 19 seasons spilling his life onto reality television, his reluctance to talk suddenly was indicative of something. There's a reason Kody and Robyn steered clear of actually confronting the fallout. Either they actually thought they'd done nothing wrong, or they realized the truth was that if they told it like it was, they would suffer severe backlash. For most of his fans who believe Kody has always had a preference for Robyn, his behavior in recent years only proves it. His single-minded dedication to her, to the exclusion of everybody else, speaks volumes. Thoughts? Do you think Kody's favoritism towards Robyn ultimately killed the family? Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates and in-depth pieces like this one. Thanks for watching.